Now, I don't know much about Sam Hyde, other than the fact that whenever there's some sort of tragedy, there's viral memes of him being photoshopped as if he did the tragedy, and then journalists are reporting on it as if it's newsworthy. I guess like that's what probably upsets the media a lot. Like I remember it was the Ghost of Ukraine, right? Like the famous pilot, and people photoshopped Sam Hyde going into a plane, and there was a media outlet that actually used that picture and reported it as fact. So that's what I know about Sam Hyde. Oh, and the fact that he has beef with Hassan Piker, which rattled him to the point where he went to TwitchCon. Hassan started getting into beef with other content creators over this. This is pretty much it. And apparently now I know that he got canceled. Stripe will no longer support his business because they conducted further review of the account and determined that they won't be able to accept payments for your account moving forward. Payouts to your bank account have been paused, and we will issue refunds on the affected card payments 5 days after your Stripe account is closed. If there are insufficient funds on your account to cover any of these refunds, they will not be processed, and outstanding funds will remain on your account. You can see the charges that will be refunded here. So, no indication of what he did. I personally don't know. It's lovely that the private company that can do whatever it wants can just step itself for cultural issues between the millions of fans that he has, which want to give him money, and himself. Like Mummy and Daddy. Now, of course, a lot of the people on the left are celebrating. In fact, usually they say that this is not enough. More needs to be done. Hurt him more. And I'm like, okay, very interesting, but you do understand that this can be used against you, right? Like this undemocratic system where a company that you did not elect, and there's only 4 of them in the world, and they all seem to agree on the cultural issues for some reason. They support the ESG agenda. You think it's a good thing, right? That they can just crack down on culture like that. Decide what is culturally acceptable and what isn't. So someone's daughter deciding to show her boobies to the internet on OnlyFans. It's really great. It's cultural power, right? Like uplifting. But someone doing comedy, that's not okay. Personally, I think both should be okay, by the way. But we do not live in the perfect society. What is interesting, though, is that the time of the left that is cheering for this eventually is going to come, just like it came on Twitter, right? Like on Twitter, it was my private company can do whatever it wants. And the moment Elon Musk buys it, all of a sudden they notice problems with the system. They were like, oh my god, the TOS is so unfair. I made the joke and I'm getting banned. Oh no, why is it happening? Oh my god, these rules, they're so draconic. Oh, I feel like I'm in a cage. Anything that I do is going to get me flack. Yeah, well, welcome to how people have been persecuted on the internet. Like, the internet is really a two-tier system, right? Like, if you're a nobody, you really need to push the envelope in order to get persecuted. Like, you really need to just use the hard R, use slurs, and even then, now, like, if you're a nobody, and by a nobody, I mean, like, you're not a content creator, you're not a blogger, you don't have, like, a huge following, you know, maybe you have, like, some family members that follow you, and maybe you have, like, a couple of colleagues, right, but, like, you're no one major, right? Now, when you become major, and I don't consider myself to be major either, but, like, when you have, like, 1 million followers, then you become persecuted. Then, like, every single thing you say, every single joke you do, everything you make is questionable, right? The problem with this is that the moment the ESG stuff is going to go down, because, like, eventually it will. It's not sustainable, right? It's not making money. Eventually it will collapse. And then these companies are going to be for profit, as they're supposed to be. And unfortunately for the left, the right is generating profit, okay? Like, Alex Jones is very profitable. I mean, when he's not getting sued. But he had millions of followers. I think, like, he was bigger than the Young Turks. Like, Alex Jones on YouTube, if he was allowed to stay, I think he would have had far more followers than almost any other right-wing channel. And this is just one example, right? South Park was popular for a reason. South Park was popular because it was offensive. Like, literally, that was the selling point. And people wanted to buy offense. Like, people legitimately went to work slaved hard, and then went with the cash. It's like, here, give me your fence. And, like, the left is going to be horrified. Like, I noticed that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, every single woke space, every single one on the internet only exists with strong moderation. Like, you need moderators to literally ban all dissent. If you don't have moderators banning dissent, every single space turns into a right-wing space. And it's not necessarily because, like, the right wing is so tsuyoi and discovered, but mostly because, like, almost anything that's not woke is considered far-right now, right? But it is interesting, isn't it? Right? So, like, the moment these companies are going to go, like, okay, well, we're just interested to make money, we just want for-profit, you're going to see tears. Like, all these left-leaning people are going to... Or the moment they will apply the same rules to left-leaning people. What is also interesting is that a lot of people think Patreon is to blame, and maybe it is. Like companies like Patreon, Indiegogo, a lot of them, they make bizarre decisions. Like, for example, banning hypno porn. Patreon, just out of the blue, right? Like, the snake hypnotizes the lady, or the lady hypnotizes the man. Like, shit like that. Okay, so why is that a problem? Well, because there's an artist, right? Like, there's a human being behind this, which made his work, like his livelihood, in order to draw that type of pictures, right? Which were fitting with the terms of service. And one day, it's like, snap, you're not allowed. Bam. So all of his customers, all of the people that followed and wanted to see that, which, by the way, is completely harmless. Like, it's not something that you can even replicate in reality or whatever. They can't do business anymore. There was, I think, like Mike Miller, right? He made the comic where the superhero was fighting a gang of thugs that were about to hurt a lady. And because some progressive twat looked at it and is like, oh my god, no, the gang is Hispanic. Oh, we can't have that. Comic is racist. Ban. Now, many of these decisions are done because it comes from the top. As I said, it's like 4, maybe 3 companies in the world that are payment processors. So these companies decide, right? It's like, we don't want this. This cultural stuff, we don't want it. And everyone has to comply. Now, the problem is, a lot of people say build your own. Well, if you build your own, you're still under these companies, right? Like, in order to build one of these processors, like, first of all, you would probably need trillions of dollars. But secondly, the other banks would probably not want to do business with you. So, like, they would fight in order to maintain their dominance, the oligopoly. Which, by the way, I think, like, we should change the definition of what the monopoly is, because this isn't healthy for the consumer, right? Like, the whole idea of capitalism is for the consumer to have the right to choose. Like, the government should make sure that the consumer can choose, and it should be more than 4 options. Especially with something as important as this, right? Like, the entire life that we have is almost dedicated to the internet. It's very difficult to live in a first world country without internet access. And other people say, well, yeah, but like blockchain and stuff. Patreon actually tried asking people, like, do you want crypto? And over 80% of the people that are supporting creators said that they would never use crypto. Like, the public doesn't use it. Well, what can you say? It's like everyone is like, oh, but the content creator. Why because the public doesn't. The volatility is very high. It's very difficult to pay people in crypto. But not only that, besides the volatility, and why do you think it cannot be regulated? Like, why do you think the government cannot step in and just regulate it? Do you think, like, for some mystical reason, this is the only thing that the government is incapable of regulating? Well, whatever. It is what it is. I don't know the solution for the problem. I mean, what can we even do in this situation? Like, contact Stripe and tell them to what? Like, they're not even willing to give a reason. Quite possible a journalist contacted them and said, hey, do you know you have a Nazi on your plan? Really? We have a Nazi? Who? Hassan Piker? Oh my god. So it's possible. I can only speculate because I have seen a lady by the name of April doing this tactic. Like, and you know that you have like a far-right person on your platform? I'm on a deadline, answer fast. Like, it's a tactic that they do. But anyway, right, let me know what you guys think, and as usual, I will see you in the comments section. Take care.